Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2024 Mississippi Restoration Summit. I'm Chris Wells, Executive Director of the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality. We appreciate your attendance and interest in our program today. Those who are familiar with our restoration summits in the past know that we have traditionally held them in person. This year we have decided to present it virtually in order to reach the broadest audience possible. As a reminder to those who have been to previous summits and to let those of you who may not have participated before kind of what our purpose here today is to do several things. One, we want to provide you with an update on our ongoing activities. We want to be able to give folks an opportunity to give us feedback and input on future activities. This summit also serves as the annual meeting of the Mississippi Trustee Implementation Group, and we'll talk more about the TIG later. For those who have attended summits in the past, you know that we normally announce new projects for the next funding cycle. This year, the projects for next year, for the next funding cycle, will be announced by Governor Reeves on Wednesday, November 13th. I always like to start with a reminder of exactly what it is that we are doing here. The Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality is responsible for the restoration funding streams that came out of the Deepwater Horizon oil spill litigation. And there are three funding streams that we manage. You see them represented here on this pie chart. The natural resource damages, the Restore Act civil penalties, and the Gulf Environmental Benefit Fund, which is a trust fund where the criminal fines were placed, and the trustee of that trust fund is the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. You see here the total funds that will be available through this to the state for restoration activities through this program over the course of the payment schedule under the consent decrees, which go through 2031. You see the asterisk there indicates that bucket 2 of the Restore Act, and there are 5 buckets under the Restore Act, sub-funding streams, if you will. Bucket 2 is a competitive bucket, and we're not guaranteed any particular amount under that. The other two, the natural resource damages and NIFWIF, have specific allocations. We want to give you a kind of a breakdown on each of those. Again, the Restore Act was the civil penalties that were assessed against the responsible parties as a result of a Clean Water Act. The Restore Act was an amendment to the Clean Water Act and directed that 80% of the civil penalties assessed as a result of the spill go directly to benefit the Gulf states. Again, the GEBF, the Gulf Environmental Benefit Fund, was where the criminal fines were placed, and we work with the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation to identify projects to be funded under that funding stream. And then the natural resource damages, these are the monies that were intended to compensate the state for the injury to the natural resources that were impacted by the spill. There are a wide range when you consider the Restore Act. There are a wide range of different types of projects that can be implemented under this program. The majority of the funding, the vast majority of it, around 80% to this point, has been obligated to and spent on ecological restoration projects. But under the Restore Act, economic restoration projects are also eligible, and about 20% of the work that we've been doing is to help restore the economy of the Gulf Coast. And what we wanted to do today in terms of program updates is we wanted to focus on 3 priorities that have been established through our extensive stakeholder engagement over the years, and give you an update, focus on those particular priorities and give you an update on projects that have been implemented under each of those priorities. We want to start with restoring and conserving habitat. Across the 3 funding streams, we've implemented about 35 projects to date that fall under this category, and you see some of the statistics here on the impacts that have been realized. 7.2 miles of living shorelines and other types of projects that provide shoreline protection, conserving of over 22,000, almost 23,000 acres of habitat, and managed even more than that. And to kind of give you a little deeper dive into, as an update of what we've done in each of these areas with these 35 projects, we have a short video here that we would like to present.
The Amazonian apple snail comes in and eats everything. So it eats all the aquatic vegetation. They take over. You'll go from not having 1 or 2 to thousands of them, and they're huge. And they lay egg masses. They're very prolific, and they pretty much destroy the in-stream natural community. They're a problem. They're a problem for us, Alabama and Florida. And so this project was to help DMR try to limit them. Right now they're in one small area of the state. Would love to get rid of them, but definitely trying to keep them from spreading to cause a bigger concern on the coast. As we work to restore and conserve habitat across the coast, MDEQ's Office of Restoration provides funding for projects that assist the Department of Marine Resources in managing their coastal preserves program. MDMR let us know that they needed additional habitat management funding, particularly as MDEQ brings additional properties into the coastal preserves through land acquisitions. Our recent habitat management funding and land acquisitions include the Wolf River Coastal Preserve Habitat Management Project, $3.1 million, 2,500 acres. For the Wolf River project, it's about 2,500 acres. They haven't been able to routinely manage it like they would like in an ideal world for management. So the NERDA funds there are being provided so that they can do those activities in a way to restore that system to what it should be rather than what it currently is. The Grand Bay Land Acquisition and Habitat Management Project is a combination of acquisition and habitat management on state and federal lands in Jackson County. Out at Grand Bay, the Land Acquisition and Habitat Management Project is focused on acquiring additional lands within that boundary. And so the staff at DMR have long looked for money to buy lands. They have targeted acquisitions within that management zone to try to increase the size of the NER. The goal of the Office of Restoration is to restore and conserve habitat across the coast. Our projects weave together to benefit the entire coastal community.
It's nice to see the overall portfolio starting to come together with the overlap of projects like the Wolf River acquisition that's going to benefit the Wolf River Coastal Preserve and then all the area that goes down with it. So it's exciting to finally see some of these come together, like it's the overall objective, the whole picture.
The Office of Restoration has projects literally from state line to state line. We start with protecting and conserving the Hancock County Marsh Preserve with that shoreline and marsh creation project. There are other beneficial use projects there. Then as you move east all the way to the Alabama state line, we've done work out at the islands, built Round Island, and we're doing some work out on the barrier islands with the National Park Service. And we work in close contact with Department of Marine Resources, bolstering their coastal preserves program, and also out at the Grand Bay NER. Also, we work with Mississippi Wildlife Fisheries and Parks. We have some habitat management projects with them and the U.S. Forest Service as well out at DeSoto. So there's a really broad range of projects from acquisition to habitat management to protection and conservation of these wild lands for future Mississippians.
The next restoration priority that we wanted to focus on today was the restoring water quality and quantity. We have repeatedly heard from various stakeholders across the board how important water quality is on the coast. And we've implemented to date 24 projects. Some of those projects have multiple components, if you will, and over $123 million allocated to these types of projects. And you see some of the statistics on impacts here. Again, to give you a little better idea, a deeper dive into what all we've accomplished in this area, we have a short video we'd like to show you.
From the beginning of the restoration program, local stakeholders and the public made it clear that water quality and water quality improvement was one of their top priorities. I think it's common knowledge that beach advisories are a frequent occurrence and an issue for our coast. Using these restore dollars to improve water quality and maybe reduce the frequency of those beach advisories was going to be a top priority.
Improving water quality is one of our priorities. The MDEQ Office of Restoration has allocated $104 million for water quality improvements across the coast. Much of the work has included traditional infrastructure projects, and many of those have been brought to our attention by city and county officials, like this $2.6 million project in Jackson County. Replacing broken or aging sewer lines like these in Jackson County directly impact our efforts to reduce beach advisories and improved water quality across the coast. Our new state-of-the-art water quality testing lab uses the findings of data analysis to identify upstream sources of bacteria. We can pinpoint the source of the bacteria that is contributing to the beach advisories.
We just got a state-of-the-art source tracking piece of equipment, a technology called a qPCR, and that's able to tell us basically what kind of bacteria we're looking at, whether it's coming from natural sources or whether it's human-derived.
Once the source of the bacteria is identified, we reach out to cities and counties to figure out what is the potential problem and address it, whether it is aging septic tanks, aging sewer lines, or lift stations that need to be repaired or replaced.
We do have some pilot projects that we're funding, one of which is about to go under construction right now. It's a beach outfall pilot project, which is a type of green infrastructure system where we will be replacing a box culvert on the beach, which is draining stormwater from Highway 90, and replacing it with a dune system which will naturally kind of treat the stormwater before it enters the sound. It'll be a marsh system, so there's going to be a dune kind of complex with low marsh plants and then high marsh plants. At the juncture where the water kind of enters the sound, we're also going to have some moisture rings in place, just naturally clean stormwater coming off of Highway 90.
So I think the agency has done a really good job of hearing the public say we'd like something done about these beach advisories, and then trying to figure out what can be done. Because we know it's not a system that's just a one-time fix, right? We know there are watersheds where we need to do sewer work, there's watersheds where we need to do stormwater work, and then how do we use this money to make the most direct impact? And so I think you see by the fact that the governors have set aside $104 million to specifically address water quality, and then encouraged us to follow the science. So looking at the beach advisories, figuring out where these human-derived bacteria are coming from, and focusing work there to try to make the most impact.
And lastly, the last priority area that we wanted to highlight was economic recovery. We've implemented 46 projects. $275 million have been allocated towards these types of projects. And again, these in and of themselves, these economic type projects have there's a wide range of types of projects, from infrastructure, workforce development, and here's a short video on this priority.
Our GED class is a computer-based class, so a typical day has our students logging in, working on their assignments, and I'm there to assist with any help that they may need. My students generally take the GED classes as a stepping stone towards their future goals, whether it be college or military. In addition to giving educational skills to our students, we also help them prepare with life skills.
More than 800 people have received workforce and educational assistance from the Salvation Army Center of Hope through a grant from the Restore Act. The Hope Center helps individuals and families overcome the challenges of unemployment, unstable housing, and lack of education by providing assistance in resume writing, development of interview skills, GED classes, ESL classes, and transportation assistance to jobs. And at the Salvation Army Family Thrift Store, participants can redeem vouchers for clothing items that may be required for their jobs. Through Restore Act funding, many other workforce development opportunities are available across the coast at community colleges. At Pearl River Community College, the Hancock Aviation Aerospace Workforce Academy recently opened, a state-of-the-art 38,000 square foot building offering classes in these types of programs: hydrography technology, unmanned systems technology, and aviation maintenance technology. We hear from our partners at Mississippi Development Authority that having a strong workforce encourages industry to come in. Having sites that are ready for economic growth encourages industry to come in. The more of those that come in, the more high-paying jobs we have, the more impact we have to the economy. Aerospace is big on the coast, and so anything we can do to support those industries has a long-term impact on the Gulf Coast economy. Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College offers innovative workforce training programs, and because Restore Act funding provides scholarships, students attend at little to no cost. The Health Professions Center of Excellence offers classes in the health profession like emergency medical science and respiratory therapy. Several of the MGCCC campuses offer workforce training that is focused on supporting the supply chain.
The workforce training helping to meet the needs of the supply chain is also another program offered through Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, where they offer no-cost training to individuals who want to go into the field of commercial truck driving, robotics, heavy maintenance equipment. And they provide classes to these students to help them be able to go into these industry workforce and meet the needs of the supply chain. With Restore, these projects are very crucial in that they have an opportunity to change people's lives. It has an opportunity to increase people's incomes. It has an opportunity to enhance the economy, to enhance workforce development on the coast. And this is a huge game changer, not only for the state of Mississippi, but for the Gulf Coast region. And this will help many people for generations to come.
Buccaneer State Park is one of, if not the most popular state park in the state of Mississippi. About $1 million has been allocated to that project, and mainly the focus has been on improving the campground sites, specifically to put down new camper pads with electricity, water, and utilities to really kind of improve that camping experience for patrons. That's what we're excited about, using these Restore dollars to kind of help improve on an already great public resource.
Under the NERDA, there are several restoration types, and traditionally we're funding things like oyster restoration or dolphins and turtles, the things people could see. But there's also a restoration type known as restoring recreational lost opportunities. And these are intended to fund projects that either restore direct injury or increase opportunities for the public to interact with nature in another area to restore that lost ability people had to go out and experience nature. So Clower Thornton is a project under that, which is it was already a park in Gulfport. We took the opportunity to go in and clear it out, clear out the invasive species, redo the walking trails, and add some amenities for the public to be able to have a nice recreational space in Gulfport. From enhancing and improving state parks to offering workforce training opportunities to coastal residents, restoring and revitalizing the Gulf Coast economy is a priority for MDEQ's Office of Restoration.
We hope that after seeing those videos, that gives you a good feel for where we stand and the progress that we've made in some key priority restoration areas. I want to shift gears now a little bit to the annual meeting update for the Mississippi Trustee Implementation Group. The TIG is made up of DEQ along with the 4 federal agencies whose emblems are represented here, NOAA, DOI, EPA, and USDA, and to fund projects under or with natural resource damages funds. We work with these agencies to identify projects and to then implement them. This slide gives you a breakdown of funding allocations to date under the NERDA program. You'll note that it shows here the both amounts and the percentage of available funds under each of these restoration types that have been committed to projects thus far. This past year, over the last year, since our last summit in January of 2024, the TIG published Restoration Plan 4, which identified 7 projects that were selected for implementation. You see those listed here, and the amount of funding allocated to each one of them. And we are in the process of beginning to implement these projects now. We're also currently working on our next restoration plan, which will be Restoration Plan 5. Back in May of this year, we published a public notice requesting project ideas under the 6 restoration types listed here on this slide. And we are in the process of vetting those projects and identifying projects to be included in the next plan. This chart gives you a breakdown of not only the funds that were originally allocated under NERDA to each of the restoration types, but the funds that remain that are remaining for us to obligate under each of those restoration types. I want to shift now to just kind of give you an update on specifically on some projects that are being funded under NERDA. First is enhanced sea turtle stranding network capacity and diagnostic capabilities. This project began in December of last year, and it actually is a continuation of a project that was previously funded by NIFWIF under the GEBF. That project, we've referred to it as Phase 1, began in 2017. To date, the NERDA project has rehabbed 30 cold-stunned turtles that were flown down from New England, and 21 of those were released into Mississippi waters. The project's also responded to 12 sea turtle strandings or incidental captures from Mississippi waters, and 4 of those turtles were successfully rehabilitated and released. The next project that we wanted to highlight is the Clower Thornton Nature Park project. This project is nearing completion and will enhance the Clower Thornton Nature Park in Gulfport through the installation of new trails and boardwalks and other amenities such as educational kiosks and signage. New eco-friendly interior walking trails will intersect and traverse the interior of the park. The project will improve the connection between communities and natural resources and will ultimately strengthen the community stewardship of Gulf Coast resources that were injured and therefore inaccessible during the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. You see here some of the work as it was in progress. Next, the Gravelines Bay Land Acquisition and Management Project. In February of this year, the state of Mississippi acquired approximately 611 acres of coastal wildlife habitat at Gravelines Bay Coastal Preserve in Jackson County. This acquisition was a component of the TIG's Gravelines Bay Land Acquisition and Management Project, which includes acquisition of up to 1,410 acres of privately owned land near the existing Gravelines Bay Coastal Preserve. The goal is to protect and manage coastal wetland and nearshore habitat, including coastal marshes and pine savannas, which provide foraging, loafing, and nesting areas for bird species that were injured by the spill. This acquisition brings the total of over 2,200 acres of land acquired in Mississippi using Deepwater Horizon NERDA funding. One of the Restoration Plan 4 projects is the Hancock County Living Shoreline Phase 6 breakwater. This project uses both NERDA and Restore funding to construct approximately 1.7 miles of segmented riprap breakwater in Mississippi Sound between Bayou Bolin and Bayou Caddy. It's phase 6 of our existing Hancock County Marsh Living Shoreline project, the previous phases having been funded through early restoration. This will extend the shoreline protection and enhance benthic secondary productivity benefits already provided by the 5.9 mile project that was previously constructed. This project component went out for bid in October, early October, and we expect it to be issuing a notice to proceed early next year to begin this phase 6 construction. The NERDA program is proud to be able to update you that several projects have actually been closed out, and we wanted to just bring those to your attention. A lot of these folks that are familiar with the work that we've been doing have heard of these projects in the past, and we just wanted to let you know that we've actually been able to close out some of these projects. The project at Infinity Science Center in Hancock County enhanced and expanded a state-of-the-art interactive science, education, interpretive, and research center for use by its visitors seeking to experience and learn about coastal and natural resources of the Gulf of Mexico. It's been a very successful project. Pops Ferry Causeway was a project in the city of Biloxi. It has enhanced the public's use and enjoyment of natural resources by construction of an educational interpretive center, nature trails, fishing piers, boardwalks, and other recreational improvements to increase visitor access to the adjacent coastal estuarine environment and to provide opportunities for visitors to fish, crab, and observe nature. The Pascagoula Beachfront Promenade project enhanced recreational shoreline access by constructing a portion, about 8,200 feet, of a 2-mile, 10-foot wide concrete beachfront pedestrian pathway adjacent to the sand beach in Pascagoula. The project funds were used to complete the concrete pathway and construct amenities including pedestrian barriers, lighting, and pedestrian bridges. Lastly, today we really want to hear from you. Your input and feedback is critical for our future decision making and on selection of projects and other matters going forward in this program. And we've created a series of questions that you can be accessed through the QR code on the screen, or by going to www.menti.com and using the access code 447-71379. We very much appreciate any and all input that you will give us, and all input is taken into consideration. This poll will be left open for a period of time in the event that you are unable or to answer all of the questions today, or if you wish to give feedback over the next couple of weeks. Thank you again for joining us today and for your interest in our program. To stay up to date on all of our activities, visit our website, restore.ms.